Yeah, for the underdogs, I'm an underdog. I've been through it all. I can never fall. What's good, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of For the Underdogs. I hope that everybody is doing well. According to a recent survey, 78% of people are actually trying to set boundaries within their own lives. And the Thriving Center of Psychology released a study that 48% of those people admit to actually attending things or taking part in things that they really want to skip. It's interesting to me because within this research article, they actually list the top excuses used in order for people to feel like they've said no without actually saying it. And the number is 73% that people lie about their reasoning instead of just saying no. Some of the excuses were, they don't feel well, their kids don't feel well, they got off late of work or whatever the case may be. There's just a ton of different excuses that people use to make themselves feel better about saying no, which got me thinking about boundaries as a whole and my experience with them. What is an actual boundary? A boundary is an emotional and physical line placed between you and another person or another thing. It's a limit that you won't allow anyone to cross because of the negative impact that it has on yourself directly. And even if you haven't deliberately placed boundaries in the past, we all have them. Maybe you don't notice them because that's just how you operate, but we do have them, whether they're physical, emotional, even time-based, it can be all three. But let's talk about why they're so hard at first, because I think the number of 73% of people lying about not wanting to go somewhere, so they just choose a different excuse instead of just saying, hey, I don't feel like going, or hey, today's not the day. I think that's a high number. It's more than half. So let's talk about why they're so hard. In my opinion, the first reason why I think boundaries are hard to place is because of the fear of rejection. We all want to show up for people as best as we can. And when you decide to put parameters on a certain situation, then there's that fear of rejection behind it. And it's wild because we actually consider other people's feelings instead of our own naturally, unless you've done the work to kind of start putting yourself first in life and in your relationships before you can put someone else's things at the forefront. We all go about things typically the same way. We don't want to let this person down, or we don't want them to feel like we don't like them, or we don't want to spend time with them. And for me, that brings up a solid point of just, we have to start putting our wellness and emotions first. There's something to be said about being selfless, of course, but to what extent? When it starts to affect our own well-being, I think we have to draw the line, and that's where the boundary comes in. The next reason I think boundaries are so hard is because of our lack of experience with them. Just speaking candidly, you don't know that certain things are going to force you to put boundaries on them when you start to go on the journey of self-development and self-growth. I think that a lot of things become very eye-opening as you begin that journey, whether it's with family or friends or certain activities, whether it's playing video games or you like to go out and you like to have drinks and one drink turns into two turns into three. Next thing you know, the next day you're behind on things because you didn't set that boundary. It can be anything, but I think our lack of experience is glaring. And just speaking from my experience, I didn't know that I had to set boundaries. We all expect people to have the common courtesy to know when something doesn't align with us or when something irritates us or, when we don't like something. We expect people to know that, but really and truly, how would they know unless you've voiced it? And it does take a little bit of work to get to the point of, voicing something that you don't like with the proper way of saying it, because it can rub people the wrong way. But I think it goes a long way when you are able to, that is setting a boundary, that is giving people the benefit of the doubt that they actually don't know that you're trying to break this habit or you're trying to be better about doing something in a certain way that it affects you emotionally. So I think the second reason I would say is just lack of experience. And I think when we do start to look inward and feel that we have certain emotions about a thing, a place, a person, that is when you have to realize that your body or your mind is asking you to now set that boundary in order for you to operate efficiently. For me, I'll say, a boundary I really had to set was within my life. I feel like a lot of people come to me for advice or, come to me for perspective. And at times it can feel like people are dumping their emotions on you. And that can get heavy, especially for me. I know that I'm an empath and, I wear people's energies. Like I can walk in a room and feel the energy within the room, or who's feeling left out or who's not feeling included. That to me it's energy draining for me, but also like from a personal relationship place, I had to draw a boundary on people telling me things that they're dealing with because I do resonate with the emotion that they're actually sharing. So, and it's not that I don't want anyone, coming to me and asking for advice or coming to me and, trusting me with their hard things, because it is an honor at the end of the day when you think about the people that, have that trust in you to share their most vulnerable things. And with that being said, I think I'm doing myself a disservice if every time someone needs to dump their emotions on me, I don't speak up when I don't feel like dealing with it, or I don't feel like I have the energy to withstand the conversation without getting out of it feeling energized, So a boundary I had to place was when I could tell a conversation was going a certain way, I really had to say, hey, today I'm not feeling my best, or today I don't think that I can give you, the shoulder you need because emotionally or mentally I'm not in that place to handle it. And it was pretty eye-opening for me when I did realize, like, after a few hard conversations with people, it's like, dang, why do I feel so tired? Or why is my energy drained? When I looked at it from a different point of view, it's like, oh, well, you just took on this conversation, which out of the goodness of your heart, you're doing that because you do want to help people, but look at the effect that it has on you. So moving forward, you need to understand that not every conversation is meant for you to take on at that given time. And the person that you're speaking to should understand at the end of the day that your wellness is most important, and it's not the time to dump their emotions on you. That's just an example of something that I had to deal with. I think that within our society, we deal with all different types of boundaries. And before I move on, I think that the biggest reason boundaries are tough to act upon is because of the guilt, the emotions that come with it. Understanding that friendship or that relationship or that family dynamic, it's going to change, especially if you've always been the person that has made yourself available to others around you. When you do start to transition into standing up for yourself and what you truly think is right within you, or what makes you feel good, what makes you happy, then understand that the emotions from others around you is going to wear on you at the end of the day, just given the situation changing. So like I said, there's plenty of different boundaries, and I just want to give you guys an example. A physical boundary can look like how close we allow someone to get to you in your personal space. The emotional boundary is one that protects us from being too invested in others' feelings, being too indulged in what others are experiencing instead of our own. And then you have the time boundary, which is when we prioritize ourselves over someone else's plans. And all that being said, if you're on your self-improvement journey, setting boundaries is critical in my opinion. And I want to give you guys some guidelines or just a little motivation, I guess, to how we can set them. So first we have to identify which areas in our lives we need them in. It definitely takes some ownership in your self-awareness, because you have to be able to pinpoint the things that aren't bringing you the right feelings or the joy or make you feel uneasy. And by that, I mean, you may have feelings of regret, frustration, exhaustion around a situation. If you feel that, then there needs to be a boundary set in place so you don't experience that. I would definitely recommend starting small. You want to build up the confidence to uphold your boundary and stand firm in your boundary. So it's gradual steps to actually get to the point of solidifying them. The first thing I would say is be as direct as possible. A huge change for me was getting to the point of not explaining myself or my reason for something. And what I mean by that is, instead of saying, hey, I can't make it today because I have to go do this, that, and the third, it was simply, hey, I can't make it today. Let's reschedule. I feel like over explaining puts us in a place where we truly aren't considering ourselves first. We're explaining in hopes of the other person's emotions being at the forefront and them taking it lighter than we would want them to. And on this path of boundary setting, you have to stay consistent. It's really easy to slip up if you're not firm and proactive. I would say being proactive is a huge part of boundary setting so that you don't put yourself in those situations. But somehow you'll find yourself in a situation and then you'll think about it and it's like, damn, I told myself I wouldn't allow this to happen again. So be firm. There will be pushback. There will be situations that we all can't control. We can't control other people's things or what they say, what they do. So there will be those tests, but, give yourself the grace to actually stand firm in your boundary and stick to what you believe in. And I think, dealing with the pushback is one of the biggest steps that you'll have to overcome within setting the boundary. Pushback it's a hard issue to deal with because really at our core, I feel like, I'll speak for myself. At my core, most of us don't want to let other people down. But on the flip side of it, setting the boundary, you're not letting yourself down. So when does that start to take the front seat instead of always considering others' feelings? Like, we got to do that for ourselves as well. You're going to deal with the emotions around it. It's hard. I remind myself I'm doing this for me, so I can be the best version of myself. And really what I think is super powerful is if you're setting a boundary for your own wellness and so that you can be the best version of you, this will tell you a lot about the person. If they accept that this is something that makes you better, those are the right people that you want on your self-development journey or your wellness journey. If there is pushback and there is, trying to hold you back to that place that they know is beneficial for them, then that's how it's kind of ran its course as a relationship and it's time to evolve and develop a different dynamic. I think that's the most powerful thing is you will lose friendships, because people will wonder, well, you used to be like this, or you used to do this. Well, hey, this is who I am now. This is what serves me best. And this is how I would like to operate moving forward. If you're here to support me, that means the world. If not, I'm taking myself very serious in this stage of life and I need the support. And if they're not there for that, that tells you a lot about the relationship that, you're dealing with. So yeah, man, I hope you guys found this episode helpful. There's so many benefits to us being able to have boundaries, and understand it's hard at first, but through time, boundaries lead to more respect and healthier relationships and a healthier you at the end of the day. So I encourage you guys, if you're feeling like you're lacking in that area, take the small steps, like identify where you need them and create a plan on how to achieve it for you, because that's what's most important, how you show up so that you can be there for others, be the best version of you. So I appreciate you guys listening to this episode of For the Underdogs podcast, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
underdog. I've been through it all. I can never fall.